China has grand plans, you see. I'm talking about the invasion of Taiwan. It is no longer a question of if it will happen, but when.
Tensions between China and Taiwan have been simmering for decades, with Beijing constantly threatening to reclaim the land by force. But as the rumors of a mutiny in China's military began to circulate, the world is left wondering, could this be the reason why the Chinese Communist Party won't invade Taiwan? With the fate of the region hanging in the balance, the answer to this question could determine the future of East Asia and beyond. Tune in to find out what's really going on behind the scenes in China. General Secretary Xi Jinping earned sustained applause from the 2,300 delegates at the 20th Party Congress in October 2022 when he stated that China will not renounce the use of force to unify Taiwan with the People's Republic of China. Later, Xi thundered, complete reunification of a country must be realized, and it can, without doubt, be realized. However, Taiwan was only briefly mentioned in March 2022 during the annual two sessions, which consisted of a meeting of the National People's Congress and the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference at the same time, in reference to the One China policy. The Taiwan issue, including unification, was minimized in an unexpectedly unusual manner in both the government work reports delivered by outgoing Chinese Premier Li Keqiang to the NPC on March 5th and the CPPCC work report delivered by its chairman Wang Yang the day before. Considering that Russia has begun its invasion of Ukraine only a week before the two sessions began, this downplaying takes an added significance. If you recall, just days after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, media outlets and outside observers around the world began warning that Taiwan could become the next Ukraine and China, the next Russia. It's interesting that Taiwanese experts on cross-strait affairs disagreed. The majority of Taiwanese experts were pragmatic and realized in their analysis of the two sessions' 2002 rhetoric. China made it clear in the two sessions that it does not see any parallels between Taiwan and Ukraine. Further denying any connection between the two issues, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi called the March 7th comparison of Taiwan and Ukraine baseless speculation. Second, and maybe relatedly, the focus on Taiwan was noticeably reduced during the March 2022 two sessions compared to previous years. A former special counselor to Japanese Prime Minister Abe Shinzo, internationally renowned IR professor Hamada Koichi, and noted that she knows the forced subjugation of Taiwan could backfire. At a time when China is under severe economic pressure and growth is slowing sharply, this is the last thing it needs, Hamada says. Xi's hallmark, great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation agenda, undoubtedly includes the unification of Taiwan with mainland China. However, some experts argue that Beijing has no plans to impose unity on the country at the moment. Recent criticism has focused on the rising tensions in the Taiwan Strait, and one writer stated it succinctly, "We have simply forgotten the number of times when the Xi Jinping administration has threatened to reunify China and Taiwan, even by the use of force if necessary." However, it's obvious that China won't invade Taiwan. Professor Deng Yuwen of the Chinese Reform and Development Institute said that, rather than invade, China will use a variety of measures to coerce Taiwan into unity. Perhaps it will try to commence talks with the government and opposition parties in Taiwan on a one-country, two-systems framework, and it may implement additional preferential policies. Here are 10 real-world reasons why China probably won't resort to violence. First, as Russian President Vladimir Putin is learning, even a small country's battle against a major power today is not only costly but also not an easy walkover for the bigger side. It's remarkable that Ukraine has managed to keep going despite having a smaller GDP and a weaker military than Russia, despite the fact that the conflict there is about to enter its second year. Second, the Chinese leadership's immediate top priority is not to use force in the Taiwan Strait but to strengthen the economy as export markets in Europe and the United States have dried up, the Chinese real estate crisis has deepened, and the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund have predicted a bleak economic growth outlook of 1.7% and 2.7% respectively. China's economy is faltering as a result of the United States' pressure campaign. In addition, the CCP regime's reversal of a zero-COVID policy has had a significant negative impact on the Chinese economy, which is already reeling under the growing pressure of the COVID-19 pandemic. It would be reckless for Xi or the CCP to put the country's economy under the strain of a costly war under these conditions. Third, even though Xi has secured a third five-year term, he's not yet succeeded in his goal of consolidating a power base within the country. When authoritarian leaders have more power, they tend to become even more paranoid. Since Putin has already paid a heavy political price for the war in Ukraine, Xi's concerned that he won't be able to keep forced unification a short-term exercise, maybe acting as a powerful deterrent. A short and a cheap battle is something that Xi will support, but it may be beyond of his hands. During World War II, the term total war came to common usage to characterize the scenario as both sides exhausted their available resources to eliminate the other. To conclude, Taiwan's military strength far exceeds that of Ukraine. In contrast to Ukraine's fertile, steppe-like plains and plateaus, Taiwan is made up of more than 100 individual islands. There are missiles, rockets and artillery pieces stationed all throughout Taiwan's outlying islands. In addition, there are many underground complexes and tunnels beneath the granite hills of Taiwan. The sixth potential factor is American engagement. Officially, the United States government maintains strategic ambiguity on the topic of whether or not it will use military force to defend Taiwan, but Vice President Joe Biden has frequently answered the question in the positive. Given the current state of affairs between China and the United States, it's becoming increasingly apparent that Washington cannot afford to give Beijing a free hand in any military operation against Taiwan. Japan represents the seventh dimension. The Kishida administration has made good on the late Prime Minister Abe's assurances that Japan will lend its support to Taiwan's defense. Previously, Abe had said, "A Taiwan contingency is a contingency for Japan." The Kishida government is reportedly partly driven by the possibility of a Taiwan scenario in its push for a more robust defense involvement in the region. To continue, an expert on Chinese politics in Hong Kong claims that she will be aware of the solidarity of the West during the Ukraine issue. China's largest trading partner is the European Union. A leader who realizes he must enhance living standards at home must avoid angering it as well as the United States and Japan. Even though Taiwan was left out of a number of recent US multilateral security and trade initiatives in the Indo-Pacific region, the island is still seen as vital to organizations like the Quad, AUKUS, and others in the defense community. The Quad, for instance, is adamant about not changing anything in the Indo-Pacific. As a result, Taiwan may receive aid from not only Japan but also India and Australia. It's possible that China wouldn't want to face off against these formidable militaries at once in this situation. The Asian consideration comes last. $1 trillion in bilateral commerce between China and ASEAN is expected to be reached within the next few years. Nonetheless, governments in Southeast Asia are becoming increasingly wary of China. Singapore's ex-foreign minister George Yeo recently made the following statement in a public speech: "No country in ASEAN is going to turn down opportunities that come their way in China, but every country worries that too great a dependence on China will constrain our autonomy of action. Extremely unlikely is an action by Beijing that will cause countries in Southeast Asia to view China as an enemy." While it's true that Xi is unlikely to use military force against Taiwan anytime soon, that does not guarantee that he won't do so in the future. The 70-year cross-strait separation must be ended by the time the People's Republic of China celebrates its 100th anniversary in 2049, according to Deng Yuan, who was cited above. Xi made this point clear in his speech commemorating the 40th anniversary of the message to compatriots in Taiwan on January 2, 2019. There must be unity between the two sides, and there will be. In the end, the rumors of a mutiny in China's military have shed new light on the long-standing tensions between China and Taiwan. While the Chinese Communist Party's decision is not to invade Taiwan may come as a relief to some, the underlying reasons behind this choice remains a mystery. If you found this video informative, please like and share the video with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth coverage of the pressing issues of our time. Thank you for watching.